We'll leave the last few lines so we can finish on Thursday, Bez Hashem.
Wait, I need an Erevin tomorrow already?
Yeah, that's it.
Also, you can sign up for the one that I get. They send it to you a month and a half before, and then you end up losing it, and you go buy another one.
I was wondering what the scam was behind that one, Pertains.
Yeah. Your wife puts it away because says, "What's this? You don't need this." And then before you know it, you're buying another one.
Pertains,
you'll have it for the son-in-laws.
Mendy and his mishpacha, thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, we ready?
Yeah, where we starting from?
We're up to the Mishna, right?
Mishna Kuf Nun on the base?
Kuf Nun Vav on the base. That's what we're up to. Yeah. It's up to Mishna, yeah? Right? That's what we're up to? Yeah, right. So we're up to the Mishna.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So Zok the Mishnah, you're allowed to cut up gourds in front of an animal. Obviously, Rashi points out that it's obviously talking about where they're already detached. You can't cut a gourd that's attached to the ground, right? But the point of this is that gourds are not normally animal food. Gourds are normally human food, right? But still the Tanna Kama holds you're allowed to cut it in front of for a behemoth. As a nevela of ne'aklavim, and you're allowed to cut nevela meat in front of dogs. Right? Rabbi Yehuda says you can't give nevela, right, unless it was already dead from before Shabbos. Because if it wasn't dead before Shabbos, then it's muktza, right? Meaning you have an animal. So you weren't planning, let's say you hope the animal stays alive, right? So you weren't planning on serving that animal as meat on Shabbos. All of a sudden you wake Shabbos morning, the dog is dead. The dog or whatever, the cow is dead. So you figure, okay, I'll give the meat to the cow. So that doesn't work though, because according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's muktza, right? But so Rabbi Yehuda says you're not allowed to do it. So that's a machlokes Tanna Kama and Rabbi Yehuda, which the Mishna is going to discuss, or the Gemara is going to discuss now about what's the story with this machlokes. But again, the Tanna Kama holds there is no isser and of muktza on the nevela even if it dies on Shabbos, and Rabbi Yehuda holds there is. So itmar, yeah, and then we have oral shachaz the simon itmar. Omer ula halacha Rabbi Yehuda. Ula said halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Ba'af Rav savar halacha Rabbi Yehuda. Even Rav holds the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Midekarchi dezuze, right? Because he used mats from a ship, right? So basically, they used these mats to cover over the merchandise that was on the ship to protect it. Yeah. So therefore, so he holds like Rabbi Yehuda that he used these things. He used these ship things. Yeah. The Rav also, Shmuel Shari, Rav says it's also, and Shmuel says it's mutter. So you see that if Rav holds, Rav holds that was also to use the ship's mats, and Shmuel holds that it's mutter. Ba'af Levi saw like Rabbi Yehuda, even Levi holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Ki had the Levi ki have a maisi treifasa lakamei b'yom tava. So when Levi brought a treifa, then when a treif animal, meaning back then, rabbis actually had to deal with treif shilas. So they had to show them the chicken, let's say, and show the rabbi if it's a treifa. Right? And nowadays, they send pictures of the chickens. Yeah. So obviously, it's not as good as seeing it live, but that's where we do it, but not on Shabbos. So you have a maisi treifasa l'kamei b'yom tova. When they would bring a treifa shalim on Yom Tov, lo have a chazilei, he wouldn't look at it. Ela ki yosef kilkalisa. Only when he was sitting near a garbage or right by a garbage. Because maybe I'm going to have to say that the meat is no good. But then you can't give it to dogs either, because the whole shaila just happened. He paskened on it that it's a nevela on Yom Tov. That means, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's muktza. So now he's holding muktza meat. So what are you going to do with it? You can't lift it up. You can't give it to dogs. You can't do anything, right? Because it's muktza. So what he did was he would bring it to the garbage dump, or he would ask them to bring it to the garbage dump, and then it's And like this, if it became muktza, then it's a problem. Now, how do you carry it to the garbage dump? Maybe it was muktza.
Would you not be able to set it aside and till after Shabbos and then give it to the dogs?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, after it goes. Yeah, but you can't move it. You're right. After Shabbos, you could, but you can't. Once it's muktza, though, right? So then you really can't do. There's not much you could do with it. So like this, you leave it in the garbage dump. Even though there is a concept of once the muktza is in your hand, you're allowed to move it to wherever it is that you're going to go. I'm not so sure if this muktza, not every muktza does it work for. I'm not sure if this particular muktza would it work for, right? But that's basically what he's saying to do. So again, the reason why they're allowed to carry it there is because it's not muktza yet, because maybe it's kosher. The muktza only kicks in once he paskens on that meat that it's straight, right? Fine. So that's two Amoraim who say like Rabbi Yehuda. But Shmuel Amar Aloch Rabbi Shimon. But Shmuel holds like Rabbi Shimon. We haven't had this in a bunch of blocks, and Rabbi Shimon holds that there is no such thing as muktzah. Yeah. It's not behemoth shemesa lo yizizanam mekayma. A behemoth that dies, you can't move it from its place. The tirgum was iri, the behemoth kachim. But that's all about behemoth kachim. Right? Excuse me. Ama b'chulin shaper dami. But by chulin, but that's only behemoth kachim because there's nothing. What are you going to do with it? But by chulin, it's okay because what are you going to do with chulin? Chulin, you're going to do is you're going to feed it to an animal. Behemoth kachim, you can't give it to an animal. Chulin, you can. So clearly, he holds that even though this animal died on Shabbos, it's not going to be muktza, right? So Ziri holds like Reb Shimon. If after Reb Yochanan Amar Aloch Reb Shimon, even Reb Yochanan holds like the halacha like Reb Shimon. So the Gemara says, he did Reb Yochanan pasken like Reb Shimon. V'amar Reb Yochanan halacha kistam Mishna. Right? We had this a few times in Shabbos. Reb Yochanan says that the rule is that the halacha is like kistam Mishna, meaning any Mishna that's taught that has no author is automatic halacha like it. And we learned in the Mishnah, you're not allowed to break wood from a beam, and you're not allowed to take wood, meaning a beam that's built into a house. So that's clearly muktza. That's not being meant to be used, right? And the same thing, if you have a beam that gets broken, so that also was not meant to be used. So he says, the Mishnah says that you're not allowed to use the wood from it, right? So what do you see? That's muktza, right? You clearly see that it's also because of muktza. That's a stam Mishnah. And Rabbi Yochanan just said that he paskens like a stam Mishnah. So how could Rabbi Yochanan say that he doesn't hold like Rabbi Shimon? He holds like Rabbi Shimon, not like Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yochanan, who could Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda masnila? That Mishnah, Rabbi Yochanan had a girsa that it's Rabbi Yochanan, that it's Rabbi Yosef but Rabbi Yehuda. So Memela, Rabbi Yochanan did not have it. In his girsa of the Mishnah, it was not a stam Mishnah. It actually had an author to it. So therefore, we don't have to pasken like it. And Rabbi Yochanan is saying we don't pasken like it. The Gemara is going to ask a similar question. You're allowed to start going with a pile of grain or straw. Meaning you have a pile of straw. You're allowed to use that. Meaning you never used it before for anything. Now on Yom Tov, you need some straw to light up your fire. So you're allowed to go and get it. You're allowed to start using this. But you're not allowed to use eitzim that are in the muktza. Now, right, muktza, it's an interesting word, right? We're talking about muktza here. So it's not, it comes from the same source, but it doesn't have the same meaning. Muktza means basically in a yard. A yard is called a muktza. Right? So you see clearly that there's another stam Mishnah. Actually, there's a brisa, but yeah, I'm sorry. No, this is a Mishnah. I'm sorry, this is a Mishnah, right? It's a Mishnah Beya. So that there is such thing as muktza. So the Gemara answers, Hasam ba'arzi v'ashuchi, the muktza machmas chesaron kis, afil of Shimon Maida. Now that's talking about arzi v'ashuchi, which is some sort of expensive wood, like expensive cedar. See, arzi we know is cedar. Ashuchi is, I don't know exactly what that is.
Female cedar trees.
Female, right? So Rashi says it's female cedar. Right? There are male and female trees. Yeah. So the muktza machmas, since it's expensive wood, the muktza machmas chesaron kis afilu Reb Shimon Maida. When something's muktza because you don't want to use it because of it's very expensive, so then even Reb Shimon is minded to that, which we'll see a little bit later, right? That's why we know, even though Lamaisa we passing like Reb Shimon, but there are a few things that even Reb Shimon's minded that are muktza, and this is one of them. Muktza, machmas, chisar, and kiss, right? Which is what we said that can you use a cell phone as an alarm clock on Shabbos? So if it's a type of cell phone that's very expensive and you don't normally mishandle it like that, then it's muktza, machmas, chisar, and kiss. Or candelabras, anything that's very expensive that you don't normally move is muktza, machmas, chisar, and kiss, which Reb Shimon is maida that's also muktza. Okay, fine. Toshima, ein mashkin b'sheichlinis amidbarius, aber mashkin b'sheichlinis abaisas. You're not allowed to give to drink, and you're not allowed to shecht wild animals, right? Aber mashkin b'sheichlinis abaisas, but ones that are domesticated bias, those that are around the house, you can shecht, right? Now why? Because the ones that are in the wild, you didn't have it in mind that, so therefore they're muktza. The ones that are in your house, of course you have it in mind that, hey, I might decide to shecht it. Whatever it is, you see again a stam Mishna that is, and it says clearly that there's such a thing as muktza. So Rav Yochanan stam achrini ashkach. No, Rav Yochanan found another stam Mishna that says differently than this. Right? We had this around, I don't know how many blot ago. I don't know, 20 blot ago, 10, 15 blot ago, whatever it is. So Beishamai says that you're allowed to lift off the table bones and klipa and the peels and the bones from food. You're allowed to, meaning after you eat them, so now they're muktza, there's nothing to do with them. Beishamai holds you're allowed to. But still, masalik is a tavla kula manar. You're allowed to lift up the whole. You're not allowed to lift up the actual muktza. You shake the table. Right? Rav Nachman said, we have it different. We have it reversed, where Beis Shammai says like Rav Yehuda, which he says is muktza. Rav Hillel says like Rav Shimon, and he says it's not muktza, which means that you have to reverse the opinions. Right? Beis Shammai here seems to be saying that it's not a muktza issue. Rav Hillel says it is a muktza issue. So Rav Nachman said we swap it. Either way, so therefore, why is this a stam Mishnah? Well, let's get the teretz straight. So Rabbi Yochanan was saying, found a stam Mishnah. Right? This is not a stam Mishnah. This is a machlekes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Right? So Rashi, a very interesting Rashi. Rashi says, and that's pshat the Gemara. He says, Beis Hillel, since we always pasken like Beis Hillel is considered a stam Mishnah. Right? Meaning any Mishnah that says machlekes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, with the rule is so ironclad that we always pasken like Beis Hillel, that's almost like a stam Mishnah saying that. So therefore, we have two stam Mishnahs that compete with each other, and we're gonna and Reb Yochanan says we pasken like Reb Shimon that there's no such thing as muktza except for specific cases, which the Gemara is going to say right now. So pligi bar Rav Acha v'Ravina. So machlokes Rav Acha v'Ravina. Chad Omar b'chol haShabbos kula halachik Reb Shimon. And all the entire Hilchos Shabbos, the halachah is like Reb Shimon, right? Now, we had a few different machlokes in about Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon is the one that holds Melacha Shein Tzricha Legufa, is Potter, and Reb Shimon doesn't hold the muktza. Lavarmi muktza machmas miyas, except for muktza machmas miyas, something that's muktza because it's disgusting, right? Umayni, what is considered disgusting? Ner yashan, an old candle that you take an old candle with the oil and all that, or kerosene, and it's dirty. And one says it's muktza. Muktza machmas miyas nami halacha Reb Shimon, and one says that muktza machmas miyas the halacha is like Reb Shimon too, except where is the halacha not like him? Levarmi muktza machmas iser, except something that's muktza machmas iser. Umayni, what's a muktza machmas iser? Ner shadika b'ba iser Shabbos, a candle that's been lit on Shabbos. That's muktza machmas iser, meaning since you can't light a candle, so therefore, right? Since this candle was lit. Before it was obviously lit before Shabbos, but since you're not allowed to light a candle, so there's something called muktza machmas iser, and that we don't know like Reb Shimon. Muktza machmas chesar and kiss, I feel Reb Shimon maida, but muktza machmas chesar and kiss, even Reb Shimon is maida. The Tanan kol hakelim nitnu b'Shabbos, all kelim can be taken on Shabbos. Chutz mi meser agadol, except for a very large knife, the yasset shel machrisha, and a nail that's used to plow, that you put into the plow. Other than that, Other than that, there's no such thing as muktza. So basically, we have a few opinions here of whether one thing is clear. The Gemara is passing like Rav Shimon that there's no such thing as muktza. Right? Except there's a few muktzas that we have opinions of, and that is muktza machmas miyas that we say Rav Shimon agrees to, and muktza machmas iser, and muktza machmas chisar and kiss. All those three is what we even Rav Shimon agrees, and that's what we pasken like all those three. That's why there's such a concept of muktza, because Rav Shimon agrees, or that at least what we're saying, the way we're paskening is that Rav Shimon agrees by these three that there is such a concept of muktza, and these three cover a lot of different muktzas. So therefore, even though be'etzim we pasken like Rav Shimon that there's no such thing as muktza, but for these few things we do pasken like that. Okay, fine. Any questions on that? Everybody's been pretty quiet tonight. All right, everybody's getting excited for Erevin. Yeah. Okay, so Zok the Mishna. Mefir Nedarim b'Shabbos. Now, there's such a thing as Nedarim. There was, guess, before we start the Mishnah, right? There's such a thing as, can you give me a tissue, please? There's such a thing as Nedarim, right? Now, if a woman makes a neder, well, before that, a neder, once you make a neder, you're not allowed to go back on that neder unless you have a good reason, right? In which case, you'd have to go to a Rav who knows Hilchos Nedarim, and you would have to tell him. There's a couple of different ways of going about doing it, but basically you have to have charata, that you ever, meaning you have to regret that you ever made. You have to regret that you ever made the neder, right? Hold on a second, excuse me. Sorry. So you have to regret that you ever made the neder, and then you're allowed to take it back in front of either an expert or a bezdin of three people who are not experts, right? So the question is are you allowed to do this on Shabbos? That's one thing. Then there's hafaras nedarim, which is that any woman who makes a neder, you have one day, the husband or the father, if she's less than 12, the father has one day where he can annul it. If he's against it, he can negate it, or the husband can negate it. But you only have one day, which the Gemara is going to discuss how long that day lasts. But the question is, can you do either one of these on Shabbos? Right? So the Mishnah says, Mefir Nedarim b'Shabbos.
What's the problem with doing it?
It's just, it's not a Shabbos-dika thing. It's a tircha on Shabbos to gather, to get yeah, it's an Uvda Dechol slash tircha for the Dayanim.
What quantifies it to be Uvda Dechol, or?
It's just something. The question is it something that's not necessary for Shabbos?
If I decide I want to pick up a book and move it to a different part of my house, it's muktza?
It's not muktza. Well, we passed in like Rav Shimon, so it's not muktza.
So,
but
Yaakov, last week you said you can't move it.
What I'm saying, it's be'etzem. It's if
you
can't move
nothing for no reason. No reason,
right? Yeah. But if there's no reason, but he has the reason. He has the reason. But let's say theoretically he didn't have a reason. Yes, then according to those hold.
If I did have a reason, why can't it be Uvda Dechol? What do you mean?
Well, it could be. It could be. It is Uvda Dechol.
I'm saying what determines what's Uvda Dechol and what's not over here. Like why?
It's random. It's a good question. Yes, it's random. It's random. Whatever the Chacham decide is Uvda Dechol is Uvda Dechol. What they decide is not Uvda Dechol is not Uvda Dechol. I think we discussed this a week or two ago. Very, very vague. Very, very, extremely vague. What's Uvda Dechol, what's not. All right, but that's the issur here. Well, this you could understand. Sitting down at Bezdin on Shabbos, right?
I get it, but being made for the husband or the thing to be made for a neder is nothing. It does nothing. It's deeper.
Yeah, but you have to go to what? I mean, you just mean just for the Mayfair. For the Hafar, I mean not.
I'm not asking about Nishalim and Nedarim. You have to go to Rabban.
Right. He's saying the husband just to be made for.
He says it's no good anymore. It's finished. That's what the Dechol.
Fair enough. I hear.
They have fights every day of the week. She makes shvuas every day of the week. So it's up to the Dechol. He wants a little menuchas and nefesh in Shabbos. So again, she said she's not eating. She's not eating. Taking gluten into the house. She's making him mishiga. So it's up to the Dechol.
Don't worry, the being made for the neder is the least of his problems.
Well, the truth is, the Gemara is saying that you are. The Mishnah right now is saying that you're allowed to. Right? So, B'etzem, you're right. Right? Right now, the Mishnah is saying you're allowed to.
So what's the
Gemara is going to...
What's the chiddush?
What?
What's the chiddush?
No. So what's the chiddush? I think because it is something that it's not something that's, I guess, pleasant to do. I can't imagine if a guy's being made for his wife's neder that we're talking about a very peaceful situation. But again, that's my own Torah on that. I don't know if that's right or not. Because if you can't be made for it, it also won't be peaceful.
She promises she's not making lakshin kugel for Shabbos, and he says, "No, I'm telling you are. I'm being made."
Well, this is on Shabbos, though. This is on Shabbos, right?
I thought we said up to the chol if you're going to be over on an isser, like by the brush. We had a special brush for Shabbos. If you're going to come to be over on an isser, you'll pull out here or something like that.
No, special. No. We saw that's a good example. Actually, that's a good example. We said that some pasken want to say that what was it negate last week, right? It was very, very good what he's saying. He had his mother made him, right? What did his mother make? Who was it? His mother made him a special. What was it for? A gold, right? Something made out of gold. Wasn't the comb the hair, was it? No, it was something else. Anybody remember? Right, somebody made a gold. Somebody's mother made him a gold something. So the pasken say from that since she made a special gold one, or is it silver, for Shabbos, and then it's okay. Right, so it's also a chiddush, but that's what it is. That the Chacham decided is something that's normally used during a weekday, right? Like we said, Rabbi Avad Yosef says about the toothbrush. Even if you hold that you're allowed to brush your teeth on Shabbos, you have to have a special Shabbos toothbrush. Otherwise, it's over the chol. Okay, I don't know.
But there you might be over on an isser if you're not, if it's not something that is going to lead to being over on something. By neder, what are you going to be over on?
No, I don't remember it being like that. I thought it was Stam that he said that. I thought it was Stam said it's a weekday thing to use that. No?
Then we had the question. Of why can't you use forks and knives? Where do you draw the line for up to the chol?
Right. So I don't know where you draw the. I don't know where you draw the line. I don't know. That's a good point. So I don't know. I guess it's a weekday thing to be made for the net. That's what you would think. So kamashmalan, you're allowed to. Even though we'll see in the Gemara. Let's hold off in the Gemara, right? But okay, so be made for a neder, you're allowed to do, which we'll see in the Gemara why you're allowed to, and you're allowed to ask on Nedarim, meaning, but only if it's Tzarech Shabbos, meaning like he said, let's say she makes a neder that she's not making kugel and cholent anymore for Shabbos, and it's after 24 hours, and then the husband comes home and says, why are you not making kugel? She says, I thought you were on a diet, so I don't want, you didn't want kugel, so I made a neder like this. You'll stay on your diet. He says, no. That's only for during the week, not for Shabbos or whatever. So you go to the Bezdin and you're matin another. Right? So it's on that you're only allowed to do if it's necessary for Shabbos. Okay, obviously it's too late to cook the kugel on Shabbos, but whatever it is, right? Fine. So that's it. Again, made for Nedarim on Shabbos, and to ask back on Nedarim is only allowed if it's for the Tzarech Shabbos. With Paikikin as a Ma'ar, you're allowed to Paikikin literally means to stuff up. A Ma'ar is a light, right? But you're allowed to stuff up a window, which we had way back on Daf Kuf Chav Hey. I only remember the Daf because I see it in Rashi, right? Which says that you're allowed to, if it's a normal thing to do, you're allowed to stuff up the window. And you're allowed to measure a shmata, right? A piece of garment to see if it has the measurement of 3 fingers by 3 fingers in order to become tameh. And you're allowed to measure a mikvah to see if it's tar. There was a story in the days of the father Rebbe Tzadok and in the days of the Abba Shalom and Batnish. They closed up a window with a piece of cheres, piece of earthenware, right? The gemi, and they tied on to that earthenware kli a gemi, which we said is like a reed. To see if there was in the barrel an opening of a tefach or not. We're going to see in the Gemara exactly what went on over there.
What does it mean? What does it mean tied up?
Oh, very good. Because how do they make a knot?
Exactly.
Excellent question. Excellent question. So we're going to see on Amud Beis, right, that's why they did it with a reed, because a reed is going to, A, it's not muktza because it's you can feed it to an animal. B, it's going to dry up, and therefore the knot is going to get untied. And so therefore it's not going to be kosher. It's not going to be isser of kosher because it's not going to stay. It's not permanent. But that's an excellent order.
So theoretically, I'm sorry. So theoretically, I can use a reed as a shoelace if I wanted to and double knot it.
Correct. Maybe midrabanan, maybe depending on how long it'll stay. But yes, 100%. It would be a whole lot better than a shoelace. Yeah, excellent. Yes, excellent point. When we Nedarim lamadu, and from the words of that they learned in this story, that you're allowed to stuff something up, and you're allowed to measure, and you're allowed to tie on Shabbos. So we'll see on Amud Beis exactly what this means, because it doesn't mean that you're allowed to tie knots on Shabbos. Exactly what you're saying. So Zog the Gemara, right? So they had a shayla. Hafara bein l'tzarich bein shaloi l'tzarich. When you're being made for the neder, again, being made for the neder is either the father or the husband that day saying that your neder is no good. V'shayla l'tzarich in shaloi l'tzarich loy. And shayla, though, asking back on the neder, that's only allowed if it's for Shabbos, but if it's not for Shabbos, not. That's why the Mishna separated them from each other, meaning it didn't combine them as one case. Or maybe even hafaras nedarim, even negating the wife's neder or the daughter's neder, can only be done if it's required for Shabbos, but if not required for Shabbos, no, it's not. And if that's the case, and they're the same exact din, why are you saying different cases? Why don't you just say mefir nedarim v'neshalim nedarim, right? On Shabbos. Why are you making two separate cases? The hafara ain't tzarich bezdin, because hafara doesn't need a bezdin, right? Like you said, that just the husband just says it. It's not a neder. But shayla tzricha bezdin, and shayla needs a bezdin. That's why he uses two separate cases. Either way, that's the Gemara's question.
Yeah, but why do you use the lashon of the tzarich? That doesn't answer the kasha of the Gemara's asks why.
Well, this is the shayla. We didn't answer yet.
I know, but the Mishna says only legabe nishal nedarim shehein l'tzarich. It's not like mefir. It said mefir nedarim b'Shabbos, and v'nishal nedarim shehein l'tzarich. So it seems like it's bedafka saying that it's l'tzarich.
The Gemara is going to ask that later.
Oh.
What do you mean? I don't understand what he's at. You mean?
Meaning, I understand why they split the cases up, but the cases in and of itself, they're mechalik in the lashon of how they describe them. One says shehin l'tzarich and one doesn't say shehin l'tzarich.
The Gemara is going to say later is it's both.
Well, okay. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking. Okay, let's see the Gemara Vayter. If it doesn't answer, I'll keep it and say it again, please. Yeah, so let's see. So Tashma again, but that's the Shaila. Does being made for the neder also apply to for only Tzarech Shabbos or not? So Tashma, the Tani Zuti Devei Rapapa, Mafir Nedar b'Shabbos to Tzarech Shabbos. You're allowed to do it only L'Tzarech Shabbos. L'Tzarech Shabbos in, Shaloi L'Tzarech Shabbos loy. Only if it's necessary for Shabbos. If it's not necessary for Shabbos, then you're not allowed to. Lishna Achrina, a different lashon is Iboyulu L'Tzarech Atarvayu Katani. Is the word L'Tzarech in the Mishnah going on both cases? V'Shaloi L'Tzarech loy. But if it's not a tzarich not, alma faras nedarim me ace la ace, then we see from there that annulling, meaning how much time does the person have? When the wife makes a neder, do you have, or the father, right? So we say you have to do it that day. Is it 24 hours from the time that she makes the neder? Or do you have that day, that calendar day? Meaning, so if let's say Shkia is at 8 o'clock and she makes the neder 7:30, do you have till 7:30 the next day? Or do you only have till 8 o'clock? Right? So if we're saying that it's only L'Tzarech Shabbos, so then we'd say Alma Faras Nedarim is Me'es Leis. Then clearly you have 24 hours. Or the other way is to say that when the Gemara is asking, when the Mishna says, I'm sorry, that it's for Sheila, even if it's not a tzarech Shabbos, therefore you see that hafaras nedarim is only that day, right? Because otherwise it's going to always be, if it's 24 hours, then you have to do it, because if you don't do it, then you're going to lose out, right? So Tashima, the Tani Rav Zuti, but the Rapam, if you're Nedarim b'Shabbos, l'tzarech Shabbos, you're allowed to do it l'tzarech Shabbos in, shaloi l'tzarech Shabbos loy. Alma Afaras Nedarim mi eis la'eis. So therefore, you see that Afaras Nedarim goes for 24 hours. So Rav Ashi, v'anatnan Afaras Nedarim kol hayoim. We said that Afaras Nedarim is only the whole day. V'yesh b'davar lahakol l'achmer, and it has a kul and a chumrah. Ketzad, how do you have a kul and a chumrah? Right? How do you have a leniency and a stringency? Nadra leile Shabbos, if you make the neder on Friday night, meaning the woman makes the neder Friday night. Mefer leile Shabbos, v'yom Shabbos, achetechsha, right? You're allowed to be made for the neder the whole Friday night and the whole entire Shabbos day until it gets dark. Nadra im chashecha, but if she made the neder with it getting dark, meaning right before it got dark, achetechsha, right? Maybe I'm sorry. No, I skipped the word. Nadra im chashech. If she made a neder, but when it's getting dark, mefer ad shaloi techshach. You can be made for it. You can negate it up until it's not dark. Because if you're not annulling it before that night, then you're not allowed to. Right? So you see clearly that this Mishna holds that it's not meis leis. So Gemara answers Tanoi, it's a machlokes Tanoim. The Tanya Afaras Nedarim kol hayoim, being made for neders the whole day. Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon amru meis la'eis. It's 24 hours. So you have basically it's a machlokes Tanoim how long you have. Now it's interesting that Taisus has a girsa. See the third Taisus? Taisus says Hilchos meis la'eis. Our Gemara doesn't say that. Right, which Taisus says, Loi Garas, the Firish Rabbeinu Chananel, Ben Nedarim Mashma the Lesser Chazachi. Damer Perak Namer Rasa Ein Halacha Kaisei Azug. The halacha is not like that pair, right? Which is Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon. It's Meis Leis. So basically, Taisus is saying Taisus had a girsa that we are Garas that you have 24 hours, and then Taisus is negating it, right? And he's saying, no, you don't have 24 hours. You only have till that day. Yeah, fine. So that's the Hafaras Nedarim. That's by negating the girls or the woman's neder. In the Shalom Nedarim, right? You can do Sheila Nedarim. Yeah. So Iboilu maybe are you allowed to do again? The Mishna is saying that you're allowed to do a Sheila on the neder if it's a Seder Shabbos. So the Gemara is asking, is that if you just, let's say you had plenty of time on Friday to do it, except you were eating one of those Friday afternoon kiddush, so therefore you don't have time to be matan neder. So do we allow you to do that on Shabbos too? Or we say, no, you didn't have time to do it on Friday, then you're allowed to do it on Shabbos. So going
to a kiddush is considered not having, I'm just like, what's considered not having enough time?
Well, I mean, yes. I was saying that, yes, going to a kiddush is
I know you were joking, but I'm just saying, like...
you're right. It's an excellent question. Somebody just asked me yesterday, a rabbi asked me, you can't even believe this if you even... A woman, Shabbos Shabbos for the daughter, both the mother and the daughter, her first Shabbos lighting candles, both forgot to light candles. Right? That's pretty wild. They both forgot the first Shabbos. They forgot because they were so busy preparing the Sheva Brachos. Now the halacha is that you have to, if you forget and you're a pasheya, you got to light candles. You got to light an extra candle your whole life. Imagine she's got to light a candle her whole life. So, but the pasken can say that if you were very busy and you're an einus, then you don't have to. So the question is was that considered being busy and not having time? So I think to me, it sounded like that was a good enough reason that that's considered busy. But I imagine, but I should have asked, maybe were they at a Friday afternoon kiddush? I don't know. Right? No, I'm saying you have to use your judgment based on what you think is having time. But that's a Gemara Shaila. Right? When he didn't have time. Or even if he did have time, still, if you need to be matan and neder on Shabbos for whatever reason for Shabbos, then you do it. So Tashma, das kikule Rabbanon Rav Zutra Breidu Rav Zera, right? That the Rabbanon got together a bezdin for Rab Zutra, Breder, Rab Zera, V'sharu le neder, and they were matir as neder, v'afagav d'havale pnai, even though he had time, right? I guess it's just the Maisa Shahoya, that's what they did, right? That they must have known that he had time, and anyways, they still matir neder. So therefore the Gemara comes out, and that's what we pasken, that even if you did have time, you're still allowed to, right? Even though obviously it's better not to push off to be matir neder until Shabbos. Yeah, the right? So they stuffed up the window with a tafiach, with some sort of earthenware kli, and they tied on to the mekeda, also onto the earthenware kli with begemi, with a reed. So this is the story that was going on here. There was a small alleyway in between two houses, right? The tumah is a sham, and there was a tumah in the alley, right? Meaning, so you have two houses next to each other, and there was an alleyway there, and somebody was dying there. The gigas, but on top of so in the alleyway, right? So obviously you could see daylight, but on top of that, on top of the two houses, there was a barrel resting on the roofs of both houses. So therefore, right where the person that was dying was, above him was a barrel, right? Now, if there was no barrel and the dead person was laying there in the alley, neither house would become tumah, because the tumah escapes right up to the sky, right? But now that there was a barrel there, so now that barrel creates a tent over the mace, and then that will then go and push it over to the neighbor, to the houses on either side, right? The practical application of this is kohanim. For those kohanim that are on here, sometimes they want to go to a hospital, and you park like in a parking garage, right? That's connect. You think, okay, I'm going to park in the parking garage near a hospital or whatever it is, and you think you're okay. But if that parking garage roof connects to the roof of the hospital and there's a mace in the hospital, now you're going to have a problem, right? I'm not saying it's the most common issue, right? But it is a possibility, right? So basically, even though the mace is not in that house, but if all the roofs are connected, it's gonna transfer the tumas oil. So basically, this alleyway really had a hole on top, but there was a barrel there, but that barrel had a hole in it. So the question is, was that hole big enough for the tumah to escape, right? Because if the halacha is that there's a tefach by a tefach of space above the mace, then the tumah will escape through. It sort of like creates like a chimney for the tumah to go out. So they had this barrel over the alleyway, but the barrel had a crack in it. But they didn't know how big that crack was. Okay, so v'gigas stukum munachas al gavun, and there was a.
What do you say about a tefach on top of the mace?
If you have a space of a tefach of air that can go out, that's right above the mace, then the tumah will escape right through that.
But don't they put a tefach in the thing that they travel to keep it in?
No, that's a different thing. This is talking about a tefach, not space. This is a tefach. I'm sorry, I didn't explain it right. There's a crack in for example, let's say in the coffin, right? So let's say there was something in the coffin. So if the coffin's covered, then that is going to make anything that's in the coffin tumas oil, right? But what happens if
it sounds like a skylight?
Right, exactly, a skylight. Thank you. That's an excellent way. So let's say this coffin came with a sunroof. Okay, I hate to be gory, but let's say this coffin came with a sunroof, right? So then the tumah escapes without a glass. The tumah escapes right out of there, and everything in the coffin will not be tumah, assuming it's not touching the mace. Right, so the same thing here. In the alleyway, really there's nothing covering it, right? It goes straight up to the sky. But there was this barrel sitting there. The question was, and the barrel had a hole in it. So the question is, was that hole big enough for the tumah to escape? Right? So again, v'gigas stukum munachas. Yeah, am I being clear? Am I explaining that all right? Okay, I hope so. V'gigas stukum munachas al gavim, and there was a gigas with a crack in it placed on top of the alleyway. Upakaku es hama'or b'tafiach. So what they did is they also had windows. Now that's the first step. The second step is, let's say both sides of the houses had no openings whatsoever. So then there's no way for the tumah to transfer because the walls are there, right? That's what they do also in hospitals for kehanim. in the Eretz Yisrael hospitals, from what I understand, what they do is they make it that no two doors can open at the same time. Like this, there's no way for the tumah to escape. Right? Meaning you have like in a jewelry store, they let you into the vestibule and they won't open one door till the other door opens. So they'll do that in the hospitals. Like this, is always a seal for Kehanim, at least in Eretz Yisrael. So here too, the only way for the tumah, now that again, you have the tumah in the alleyway. And now there's a barrel covering the alleyway. So now the tumah could transfer into the neighboring houses. But it's only going to transfer if there's an opening in the like a window or a doorway that's open. So there was a hole there. That's a ma'or. So what they did is they stuffed it up with earthenware like this. Even if the barrel on top had an opening that wasn't big enough, still it would block the tumah from coming in. So that's the first thing they did. Upakaku es ma'or b'tofiach. They blocked up the window with earthenware. V'kashu es makeda b'gemi. And then they took another piece of earthenware. Now how are they going to get to the top of this barrel that's above the alleyway? How are they going to get to it? Right? So I guess theoretically they could have gotten a ladder, but instead what they did is they took this reed, they tied it onto the earthenware, and they stuck it up. Let's say it was a 10-foot long pole of reed. They stuck it up to see if it would fit into the crack of the barrel. If it fit into the crack of the barrel, that means that the opening of the barrel was big enough and the tumah would escape through that opening, and then there would be no tumah. Right? So whether there was in the barrel an opening of a tefach or not. So again, they basically did two things here. They closed up an opening in the walls of the houses so that even if there was tumah in the alleyway, it would not get into the houses. And then they took this earthenware and they took a reed and attached it so that you could reach it up to the barrel to see if the opening was enough. So based on the Chum doing those two things, we're saying that you're allowed to do these type of measurements for mitzvahs, right? If it's for a mitzvah purpose, then you're allowed to do it, right? Then the most practical application of this is on the Seder night. Everybody's busy measuring, right? You got those charts that everybody loves, right? You're measuring, you're not allowed to measure on Shabbos or Yom Tov. So for the tzarich mitzvah, you're allowed to do it. Okay, that's it. We'll stop here because we'll leave for Thursday night. Bez Hashem, we'll leave these
Jacob,
5 lines so we can make the seat.
We gotta mentally take in where we are right now. What's in front of us?
What do you mean?
The last few lines in Shabbos. It's like a huge thing.
Yes, it's a big zach. It's a big thing. Shabbos is the longest Masechta, almost from not by blot but by words. The Dailim says brachas is, but it's really Shabbos. Not that I counted, but yeah, it's a big accomplishment.
Separates the men from the boys.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just hope that Hilchos Shabbos is a little bit better. And Erevin, we got to keep the faith with Erevin because Erevin is no walk in the park.
Can I ask you maybe a taiva?
Yeah.
Maybe I know this sounds crazy, but maybe we could do a class trip of the Farakwi Lawrence Erev on
That's
Thursday.
an excellent idea. I got a thought about that.
By the way, I have your father's videos.
No.
Jacob, he happens to be right. A shtickle hakdama before we start here.
No,
you want to do it before or you want to
Thursday?
do it after?
I want to do it Thursday at 7:00 before the season.
Listen, some of us are going to be cooking, and if we're going on a class trip, that's another excuse to have more food. And I do have a portable barbecue. We can bring it along while we go.
You'll have to take half a day off, and you'll start cooking.
Stop, Reb Zeb.
Hey, you want to get a pickup truck? Pickup truck with the grill in the back.
Especially the Erev goes on the beach. You know what I mean?
No, I'm serious. You'll be able to give us certain things. What we'll be able to visualize it when you learn it.
Just the idea of a carpet, people don't cop what it is.
Correct. No, that's true. That is true. So you think we could do it on? I'm going to be checking the Erev before the Siyam, if you really want to know, but not the Farakwi one, the Yulit one. But
so Tiago, maybe
I will be able to make it back.
Why don't you videotape it and post it on this chat?
A lot of the Erev stuff is already.
That's the lazy way out.
No, you could watch the video. We want a class trip.
We'll have to.
I got to get a permission slip signed.
Tiago, I have an idea. If you want, when you check the Yulav Erev, Darlem can get in a caravan and you could zoom it, and everybody can have it on their phone, so you could talk while everybody's driving.
And then you guys can come to my house.
No, we do in 2 vans and we go around. I'm serious.
I hear. Okay, I let the island decide. If I'm all game for it.
And then they can come to my house for a barbecue.
Very good.
But, I won't be back in time.
Right.
Okay, forget it. Now the whole thing is canceled.
You don't have time. Come on, that's not fair.
I'm serious. Aaron, make it happen. Aaron,
I have to say, though, the Farakoi Erev is a lot more interesting than the Yulid Erev. There's a lot more to learn in the Farakoi Erev.
Farakoi Lawrence Erev. Is it Farakoi Lawrence or Farakoi?
Yes, Farakoi Lawrence, yes.
So to help us, we'll understand. You'll be able to explain it to us when
but the thing is, I think we should wait until we get, because the first bunch of blot, it's not negate.
Okay.
Not negate.
So maybe we'll do it next, Yaakov. Maybe we'll do it next week or so.
No, whatever. Maybe Labor Day.
When you're back. Maybe we'll do it when you're
Labor
back.
Day. Maybe Labor Day or something, because that's around where the sugya should be. Reb Zev, you can have time Labor Day.
Isn't there a car fifth right down from Ball's house by Marchuk?
Oh, very good. Naftali Landau's here.
It's not exactly a car fifth, but yeah. Okay.
Does anyone who who goes around with the Erev have to listen to you about carrying an Erev?
I would hope not.
Shakov, you saw this Ruchai Kanievsky Shalish Shuvas he answered about Bein Zmanim and all this?
Nope, I didn't see anything.
He had a couple of things that it sounds like you would say. He said if you could daven with a minion, right? With a minion without a suit and jacket, or daven by yourself with a suit and jacket, what would you say you should do?
Daven by yourself with a suit and jacket.
What was
he said? Daven with a suit and jacket. Could you believe that?
You can't believe everything the newspapers write.
I actually have heard that Reb Chaim Kanievsky holds that you have to daven with a hat and jacket.
No, it says b'yechidus. Daven, daven
I'm saying, b'yechidus. I think I've actually.
That only holds if you're going to wear a hat and jacket in either case. If you're not going to wear it anyway, then you might as well go to the mikveh.
No, I'm going to use this from now on.
I'm just saying.
I'll see I don't have a hat and jacket. I'll go to home.
And Landau, I don't think he considers a kapota as a jacket.
I think also, by the way, he's probably talking about societies where they wear hats and jackets. I can't imagine that would apply.
So you're saying, back to your text, Minhag Makom, where the 5 towns doesn't wear a hat and jacket, would I have to wear a hat and jacket?
Who said that's the Minhag Makom? Where did you come up with this, Landau?
What do you mean? Minhag Makom in the 5 towns is hat and jacket?
What? Landau, you live in Farakaway.
Oh, Landau, Minhag Makom is that we all learn in our beds over here.
Yaakov even says that Minhag Makom in this town is not even
he's practicing for the Seder. He's practicing.
It's not even tight. It's not even tight. We don't even think Minhag Makom is tight in Farak.
Parrots, take off the recording.
No, am I saying anything wrong? Am I saying anything
Parrots,
incorrect?
take off the recording.
Hold on, I'm working on it.